Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 camp build. So, we've got a nice little prefab on the Atomic Shop this week. It's the tool shed prefab, and I quite like this sort of thing. It's kind of small, compact, and works well in either a larger build or as a standalone structure. So, I'm having a little bit of fun working around with that one today. And this is going to be a rather decoration-heavy build rather than a construction-heavy one, but it'll be nice to look at a different side of the building approach. So, let's jump into this one and have a look at where we are on the map. And here we go, smack bang in the middle of the Savage Divide, not too far from Huntersville, at the bottom end of Twin Lakes, really. We're sort of at the bottom end of that area. Not somewhere I've really built before. I've built in this general vicinity, but not this particular spot. And yeah, nice little flat spots, just surrounded by trees, and I don't build in the Savage Divide often anymore, so kind of a nice change as well. A nice bit of greenery here as well, so it's a pretty good spot. And here we go, the new toolshed prefab. This is an interesting one. It's kind of dilapidated enough to make for a beaten up kind of build, but also kind of solid enough to make something a little more on the cozy end if you want to go that way as well. So it's flexible. And if you wanted to use it just as a straight up sort of crafting structure for putting your workbenches in, it would work well for that as well, I think. Tight squeeze, but it would work. So, I've got that positioned where I want it in terms of the lay of the ground and the trees at the back there. And because I'm going to live in the tool shed here, we're going to need some space outside for the actual tools. So I'm going to put a couple of foundations on either side. We're going to line these up with the edge and try and set it up so that it lines up with the back side of the tool shed here. And it needs to go a little further back. The ground's not quite level, so you can see this foundation at the back's popping up a bit. So we'll take the lead from this one at the front so that it doesn't do that. Just nudge that forward a little bit and make sure that line is nice and straight. Doesn't have to be perfect, but close would be ideal. There we go, that looks alright. Maybe a little further back. Push that back a little bit. Nice. Cool. And we'll head over to the other side and repeat. Hopefully with slightly less trial and error. So we'll drop that in. I should be able to get this in nice and easy. And I'm going to just check how this lines up with the posts on the front here, so I can see how far back to push this foundation. And hopefully, if not first time, we should be pretty close to it. Looks pretty close to me. So let's get some railings around the edge of this. I'm going to go for the barbed wire fences. They look quite nice here. They don't look quite so ramshackle as some of the other options do either, so they're going quite nicely there. A couple of stairs. Tidy that off, and that's the main building. So, decoration. I'm going to start off inside, and we'll focus on this bit, and I'll do the outside decoration on my own time, because otherwise we will be here for several hours, and I don't think anybody wants that. I'm going to rug in first. Concrete floor in here. I often do have words to say about concrete floors in prefabs, but this is a tool shed, and it does kind of make sense. And it actually isn't too bad once you've got a rug on it. It's furniture. I can get a fireplace in there. I've gone for the hunting lodge fireplace specifically because of the stone fireplaces, it's the smallest. And this is quite a confined space. So, we're going to grab the pressure plate here because I want to set up to do a little bit of merging. So, we'll drop that down, then pick it up and replace so that the pressure plate drops into the lower position there. Drop my blueprint for a bed here. It's already got a couple of chessboards in position on it. Now we can just put some pillows on there. I do occasionally use some of the other beds, but this one's good for kind of bit of a single bed vibe if that's what you want to go for, which fits better with this structure, I think. And the options for beds with bedding that have that single bed vibe without feeling like a children's bed are a bit limited, so that's why I keep going for this one. So a couple of pick up and replaces, and those pillows drop just to the right height and hide the chessboards. And now we can just pick where we want it, which is going to be this corner so that you can actually get in and out of it, which you can't really if it's by the fireplace there. Although I think if you rotated the whole thing 90 degrees and put the fireplace on the side wall, then the bed would go nicely at the back, maybe. Same sort of relationship to each other, but 90 degrees would work quite well. I do like the idea, however, of getting that cooking station in here, and it's being a bit awkward about it, so we're going to have to do a little bit more merging. Get the cooking station on the top of the fireplace and just sink it down, all the way down to the bottom. Now, this will place on the top, as we can see. However, we have a couple of issues. Firstly, it's not quite on the right line. That's a bit better. But far more to the point, it won't sit far enough forward. If it's at the back here, I won't really be able to reach the cooking station to activate it. And it will look out of place as well, so we don't really want that. So I'm going to drop that mat on the top there, and hopefully I can get it to sit on the top of the mat and then adjust the position of the mat so that the cooking station will go where I want it to. Just going to take a little bit of patience. We should be able to get that in place, I think. Come on. Play ball. There we go. Now we can adjust that. And it's sticking out the front a bit, but it means I'll be able to get hold of the ladle. I also want to make sure that the cooking station is slightly off-center to the left, otherwise the ladle will be sort of clipping through the side of the fireplace when I merge it all down. With that in place, we'll drop it on the pressure plate and hit that move button over and over, and much time later, we get to the bottom. I actually have to go away and come back for a bit because I ran into a few snags along the way, but now I've got that in the right place, and it's all the way down. A little trial and error, but that looks about right to me. Look at that. No excess clipping, fits nicely in the fireplace, looks good. It's technically a little off-center, but it works, I think. So we'll grab that whole thing and put it back now. Here we go. Nice. Sorted. So that should look okay. It's not as tall as I would like, really, this thing, but we're not going to spend a great deal of time looking up when we're in here anyway, so it won't matter too much. So my plan for decorating either side here originally was to use these Helvetian display cases, but I don't really like the colour of them. The other options look a little bit too clean and posh, so I ended up putting the display case idea to one side and went for another option, which is this desk blueprint that I've had tucked away for ages, because decorating the desk is a bit of a faff at times, so I thought having a blueprint of it would make life a lot easier, and it sure does. So we'll drop that in, get a chair in there, get a safe in, because that makes sense for a nearby piece of furniture. It also provides a mini table, effectively, for me, so I can put my company tea machine and my coffee machine on the top of it, as those are basically a must for me. And I'm going to put the coffee machine in first, because I want to be able to see the decals on that, so you can use that to decide which way round to put the coffee machine, in relation to the tea machine, obviously. Yeah, looks alright. So, let's get a couple of bits and pieces on the wall now, I think. I'll scroll through here, and Nuka-Cola posters with some lights on. That should be alright. Looks good. This thing does have a point to attach a wire to at the back, incidentally, and will illuminate any powered objects in here from there, which is cool. But I'll deal with that off camera. So, always good to put your curtains in as early as possible, and then you don't have to move furniture. But in this case, we've hit a slight snag, and the one big gripe that I do have with this particular prefab is that curtains in particular won't sit very close to the wall. You can see there's a big old gap at the top there. Now lower down, this doesn't really seem to be such an issue, but at the top there, for some reason with the curtains and also these blinds, they just won't sit there. So I'm basically going to have to do without. Now, when you actually look at this place from the outside, you can see that the windows are actually open, which is kind of hard to tell from the inside, but it's quite cool, gives a cool effect. But as regards living in it, you might want to consider either boarding up the windows or getting like posters or signs or pictures and putting those over the windows as boards if you want it to feel a bit more ramshackle and a bit more maybe sealed up, or concealing whether or not you're in there from any wasteland denizens who might want to shoot through the window while you're asleep. Those are options for you. So, I want to put a little side table at the end here, and I'm going to drop the gramophone on. And I've brought everything outside because that gramophone does not like to sit on anything close to the wall. So you basically have to move the table away from everything else and then move it back once the gramophone's in place. As soon as I'm doing it for the gramophone, we might as well do it for everything else while we're here. And I'm going to move that fan over to the left because it's a taller object, and I want the taller object at the back in the corner, and then the shorter stuff at the front. My idea. Ooh, there's a kitty there. I'm going to need to drop the animatronic cat in there, at least until we get pets in a couple of weeks. And stack of ammo. Yeah, that'd be nice. Unfortunately, the build menu can't pull from the ammo box, so I'll have to drop one of those down and actually grab the ammo by hand, which is a bit annoying for those. But nonetheless, once we've done it, we've got a cool little decoration item there. I do like that we can now have boxes of ammo and stuff lying around. Definitely adds a little bit of interest. So that should do for now. I did think about merging some stuff into the front shelves on this, but I'm going to pile stuff in front of it, and there's not really much point to that if it's going to be mostly concealed anyway. Also, those are particularly small shelves, so finding something that doesn't look like it's clipping when it's been merged in is going to be doable, but challenging. Let's get some lights in here. these beams will take the cage bulb lights quite nicely, which is cool. Didn't actually take too much faffing around, which is nice. It should provide a nice bit of light. Magazine rack by the sofa? Yeah, that works for me. Bit of a tight gap there though, so we might have to make a bit of room. If you spin this around, you can get it to sit more closely into the corner, because the collision box is not even on most objects, in fact. So sometimes rotating them will allow you to tuck things in a little bit better. So a worthwhile thing to try if you're having difficulty placing objects like that. Get some wall decor in there. I was quite pleased with how easily these posters went just behind the coffee machine and stuff there. But I thought I'd have to move those, but I didn't. Always convenient. Again, wall decoration early, if you can, is a good idea, but you know, you generally want to choose your wall decoration in relationship to your other furniture as well, so there's a good chance you have to move things in and out and replace them in order to get stuff on the wall later. But I'm picking these two cryptid posters, and I'm going for the ones with the yellow background so they sort of match. In that vein, I did want to use the Vault Boy portrait, which was a Twitch Prime reward a while back, but it's just too big, so we'll go for this nice little kitty. The clipping's a bit of an issue there, so we'll double up, and you can't really tell it's doubled there, so that looks alright to me. Looking good. So, let's get a couple of last bits and pieces in. And basically, what I'm going to do from here, at least as regards the inside space, is basically keep on scrolling, see what catches my eye, and drop it in anywhere that the inspiration takes me, and sort of increase the density of decoration items. And following that, I'll head outside and apply the whole principle again to the outside area, as well as put some fences in and stuff just to kind of enclose the front of the build and make it look finished off. However, that whole process is going to take probably a couple more hours. Incidentally, this is our new Fallout First item for the month, our freebie, if you're curious, this little record player. So, rather than making this video several hours long, I'm going to head off, do all that stuff off camera, and we'll take a tour of this place in just a moment. And here we go. So, one finished product, much decoration later, and to be fair, it didn't take too horrifically long, a couple of hours I think. But yeah, all in all, I'm quite pleased with the result. I decided to add that sort of paddock-like front garden area, just to kind of tie the whole build together from this front angle, and I think it does that quite nicely. It's not really defensive, what with it being sort of knee-high or waist-high in some places, but in terms of sort of completing the look, I think it comes together quite nicely. A little bit of space here between where the paddock fence, the Helvetian fences rather, bulldozed the grass and where I built it back, because I thought, as I've got a couple of bits and pieces around the side here, it'd make a nice kind of path towards the outhouse and the shower. Take a look at the internals in a bit more detail in a bit. So we've got a tree growing through the shower there, but I don't know. Something to hang your washcloths off or something. The towel. Tucked my collection around the back here, as I absolutely had to have him, but I didn't want him walking around inside the front area, so I was able to squeeze that foundation in, which I wasn't going to do, but the ground is just uneven enough that the Collectron didn't want to place. But all in all, made for a nice little spot with a Nuka-Cola cooler there, seeing as he's collecting Nuka-Cola for me to complete the vibe. Added a few extra rushes and bits of grass around the side here as well, just again to kind of close up the bare earth. And it works quite nicely. And we can head on inside. Yeah, I elected not to put a gate on here, even though I could, partly because the ground's uneven. And the gate would then end up clipping through it, which it also wouldn't provide any kind of protection. You'd just end up jumping over it, so it didn't really seem worth including it. I could just leave a gap and walk right through instead for the same defensive capabilities. But we've got a few bits and pieces up front here and a nice kind of area to hang out. Heading over to this side, tucked a vendor in there on top of the barrel. Kind of blends in with everything else, which I quite like, but to make sure people can find it, I put the little Blue Ridge rug on the floor there, which definitely catches the eye, I think. Could maybe have changed the texture on these foundations. The wood does look okay with the structure, but in hindsight, maybe I could have done something a bit different there. I might have had to go for stone foundations and then put some kind of stone floor down there. Brewing and crafting for the most part on that side, and I've got the symptomatic in, which I'm happy about, because it's often hard to squeeze it into a build without looking out of place, and it looks okay there. And we'll have a little look over this side. There's a few little bits and pieces around here that I'm quite happy about, like little details, a couple of those new Halloween lanterns and stuff. Definitely happy to have those, they are good fun. Add a nice little bit of detail and colour and stuff. my main weapons crafting space on this side. Got a few bits, pieces of resources in here, like the well there. That axe is sticking out of a stash box technically, but it looks like a nice place to chop firewood, and I thought that combination works well. I did it in a build a couple of weeks ago, which I was quite happy with, and that particular sort of a set piece I do like, so it'll be fun to add that in. And the target there, just putting a little bit of extra detail and interest in the outer area. A lot of the bits and pieces out front here, nice place to sit. Technically those leaves do get in the way a bit. Somewhere to hang out, with a bit of a roof over if you're taking some downtime from adventuring. And we'll have a look at the finished interior. So, I think this has come out pretty cosy, to be honest. I've added a few extra bits and pieces. That weapon rack I've noticed is not quite as close to the wall as it looked at first. Because the collision box on the wall is maybe a little bit further out than we'd like in here in a few places. You see, I added a few extra bits and pieces in front of that shelf, so the fact there's nothing on it doesn't look too bad, until I point it out. Yeah, lots of little bits of detail and splashes of colour here and there, just adding to the coziness and making it a little bit more comfortable. Nice and compact, works pretty well. We can activate the fireplace here without too much difficulty. A little harder with no HUD, but you know. And make it look like the whole thing's working quite nicely. And I can actually activate the ladle there, because it sticks out far enough, and use the cooking station. I imagine in third person it would look a little weird, but it does work just fine. Otherwise, plenty of room to get to the bed and the desk. Well, enough room. And a few essentials that I think on the whole, if we close the windows, this place would be a reasonably comfortable, cosy piece of the apocalypse to live in. That little jackalope up there I put on the wall as well, because it's one of the sort of set that this prefab comes with, along with a couple of other bits and pieces. So I thought I'd show that off as well. And yeah, all in all, I am quite pleased. As I say, apart from the odd bit of the collision box here that could be tucked a little bit further back, I do quite like this structure. It's pretty good, and will definitely work well in other builds, sort of tucked out the way as a crafting room or some other function as well, and will go quite nicely. Yeah, all in all, a nice little homestead in the Savage Divide using a tool shed as a central feature. As I say, it's on the Atomic Shop at the moment, so if you want to grab it, then now is the chance, and doubtless on down the line it will make a reappearance as well. But there we go. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you did, please consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate. Down below, we've got social media links and channel memberships. If you want to support the channel that way, I very much appreciate it. It really helps out. And if you get a chance, join us for live streams as well. We're, of course, playing 76, as well as the Exodus Unseen and Starfield at the minute, which has been good fun. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.